He said, Holy Father, I have not discovered the moment of creation as in the book of Genesis. This is a scientific theory.
Well, I think there's an interesting contrast. I want to hear both of your take on this, to looking at the Big Bang and the idea of a beginning to the universe, which was about 100 years ago. That really did start in religious circles, like this idea. I mean, like the guy who brought it forward was a priest, or he used to be, right? Lemaitre.
Belgian Jesuit.
I mean, he was very clear that he's putting forward a clearly only scientific, non-theological idea. And it was to the resistance of a lot of physicists at the time. But, the evidence really ended up bearing him out.
Well,
and he won, right?
It's a great example.
If you would, Joshua, let me speak to that. Georges Lemaitre was a Belgian professor.
Was it Lemaitre? It's not Lemaitre? I mean, am I mispronouncing it?
I don't speak French.
Okay.
The only other language
I'm going to stumble through I got to go talk to a friend.
The only other language I speak is German, and that's no help here. It looks like Lemaitre, and I have been told it is Lemaitre. But nonetheless, Georges Lemaitre was a professor of mathematics and physics at the University of Louvain in Belgium. Well, he was also a priest. And he was one of the few people in the world, clearly, who profoundly understood general relativity when Einstein published his equations for the very first time. And he began to go to scientific meetings and argue that general relativity implied an expanding universe. Now, Einstein, for what I might term anti-theological reasons of his own, preferred to believe in a steady state universe. You can find this out in Walter Isaacson's book.
He called it the biggest blunder of his life, what he did with the cosmological concept.
Well, he thought the universe always had been and always would be. Therefore, you do away with any need for a creation event. So here is this young physicist, a very bright guy, wearing a Roman collar, coming up to him at meetings and saying, wait a minute, the universe has to be expanding. That means it'll be bigger tomorrow, but it also means it was smaller yesterday and still smaller a month ago, and years ago even smaller. And if we go far enough back into the dim and distant past, it means the universe was, and this is Lemaitre's terminology, the universe was a single atom. And that's cosmic expansion. And that's what we commonly call the Big Bang. Now, Einstein resisted this for a very long time. But of course, Hubble found the background radiation. Hubble discovered the redshift, which indicated that galaxies were moving apart at velocities that were conversant with that. And then Robert Wilson and Arno Penzias discovered in the 50s the microwave radiation background of the Big Bang. And Lemaitre lived just long enough to see his ideas vindicated by Wilson and Penzias. And you said he used to be a priest. No, he was a priest his entire life.
Well, so this is an important point, though, because he really did face that objection that this is just a religious idea. And in fact, it was consonant with the religion. Maybe religion even had like a background view to it. Who knows?
Yeah, but
this is just a scientific idea.
Yeah, when Lemaitre's ideas became generally known, Pope Pius XII got very excited. And he actually issued statements that said Father Lemaitre has discovered the moment of creation. And Lemaitre had to correct the Pope, and he did so.
Yeah.
That this is, he said, Holy Father, I have not discovered the moment of creation as in the book of Genesis. This is a scientific theory. And what I have discovered is the universe expands from a single point. By saying that I have discovered sort of the theological equivalent of creation, you're overstating what science can say. So Lemaitre was not hesitant to correct the Pope on a matter of science, for which I think the
parallel is important, because I think if you take him and Behe, I think both of them actually faced like opposition from the scientific community, at least initially, right? I think both were claiming to be privately religious, to be putting forward scientific things. And somehow Lemaitre, for reasons that I think we can explain, was able to overcome that prejudice and really become the dominant idea now. And but the idea,
because the evidence was on his side,
hasn't, right? And I think the reason why is the science isn't there.
Yeah, the evidence is on the side. That's all it takes.
Exactly.
That's all it takes.
And it's not just a question of Lemaitre overcoming and Behe trying to overcome, as this is some sort of personal struggle.
I agree.
The thing about science is that it's empirical. And there's a famous quote that's saying there's nothing quite as tragic as the murder of a beautiful theory by a gang of ugly facts. But in the case of intelligent design, I would say, look, the facts are against it.